It is the biggest game of Arsenal's season as they go to Tottenham looking to restore a 5-point lead at the top of the Premier League table. They were done no favours by Newcastle, and so it's time that they did it themselves. This is today's Arsenal News Show. Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys and girls for another episode of what is indeed the Arsenal News Show. Joining you on match day ahead of Arsenal's North London derby clash with Spurs in the other half of North London in a game that they absolutely, unequivocally must win if they are, in most of our minds at least, to go on to win the Premier League this campaign. A result here would follow on a very strong victory path that they have had in this stadium over the last few seasons. In fact, Arsenal haven't actually been beaten by Spurs since 2022, nearly 4 years ago. Since then, they are unbeaten, have won as many as 6 times and drawing the other 7 times they have faced one another, of course, but the record is very good. But that record means nothing when it comes to a derby. And anything, of course, can always happen. Good morning to those joining us live in the chat box. Thank you so much, as always, for doing so. Really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for being here. Claire, John, Paul, good morning to you. To Matt G, we've got Glenn, we've got Paul, we've got Knowledge, we've got John and Grantley Poos, we've got Zoom and Sherry, Maximius and Tom, Lars, good morning. Thank you so much, all of you, for tuning in. Greatly appreciate you being here. And thank you so much, as always, for tuning in and listening. If you could drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new around here with those notifications turned on, that'd be greatly appreciated. So please do help us out. And if you're heading to the game today, of course, be safe and follow all the usual advice and make yourselves as safe as feasibly possible in these environments, because there's a number of things that's gone down, of course, in recent years. So it is important that you do indeed stay safe. There is said to be an increased police presence at this derby, and the police will be using facial recognition software in order to keep everyone additionally safe. In addition to that, yesterday's Premier League action saw another incident, well, many, sadly, incidents of racism occur, of course, in a week where racism has taken centre stage once again after the Champions League incidents with Vinicius Jr. Wesley Fofana sent off for Chelsea in their 1-1 draw with Burnley led to a number of horrific messages sent the way of the Chelsea defender, which he then shared on his social media account. There is ongoing investigations. Chelsea are looking into it as well. But again, it provides that grounding reality for sports, for this game, for this country as well. So just please do educate yourselves, make yourself aware of these. And if you do witness any awful occurrences, make sure you report them, because the only way that we're going to stop it is by being united on this front in stopping racism. Moving into, of course, the stories and the rest of the action from yesterday's games. It saw draws across the board. There were some interesting results. The draw, of course, at West Ham, between West Ham and Bournemouth, means that Spurs have been given a little bit of respite in terms of their potential plight into a relegation battle. But it does mean the gap has closed between West Ham and Spurs to just 4 points after their draw with Bournemouth. Brighton managed to do what Arsenal could not and win at Brentford, a 2-0 victory for them. Some awful defending in that game. Aston Villa drawing 1-1 with Leeds United. It required a very late Tammy Abraham goal to spare their blushes and continue to put themselves very much out of any potential title race that was previously thought. I've mentioned that draw between Chelsea and Burnley, and the evening kickoff saw Manchester City beat Newcastle United 2-1, but 2 massive incidents in that game, and huge moments that probably, if we're looking in retrospect, should have led to very much a different outcome. Bernardo Silva already on a yellow card, fouling Burn off the ball. I mean, if he's not on a yellow card, I can't help but see this not being anything other than another yellow. So how he didn't get a red card in this game, I am absolutely baffled by. And then also there was the incident which saw Newcastle's second equaliser of the game ruled out for offside. But replays show Dan Burn was pushed into an offside position during the build-up to the goal. Make of that what you will. How we start to sort out that type of thing is another question. But that was, yeah, a very, very, very controversial moment in the game, and one that saw Man City, as I say, scraped by Newcastle. They're a good side, Newcastle, missing a lot of their big players. It's a big 3 points for Man City. You could see from the celebrations after the game how determined they are, but still, they look vulnerable defensively. I still think that this Man City team are going to drop points between now and the end of the season. It is not going to be a case of the teams winning every single game, securing them the title. I still think there will be points to be dropped, but they have the experience, they have the momentum, and they have the form. 5 games won now in a row for City, whereas Arsenal just 2 wins from their last 7 do change things quite considerably, do they not? I think certainly so. Mikel Arteta, the last few quotes from that press conference that was conducted on Friday included quite the message, to be fair, from Arteta. He spoke a little bit about Martin Odegaard initially. He was asked a few questions about Odegaard and the potential return of the player, and obviously the frustration at him not being available. And he said, we have missed him for the biggest part of the season. The percentage of time that he's been available for us has been far from ideal. Again, he has been part of that journey in this year to deal with a lot of injuries. And with us having a lot of important players out like we have now, the team has done extremely well to maintain the level. Injuries are the worst part of our profession. And when a player has a big sequence of events, and I understand how Martin wants to be involved with the team, it is tough. And then asked about what the captain will say on Sunday. And he says, normally it comes from them. If someone wants to say something, they discuss it with the leadership group, what they really think will make a difference on the day. And they have absolute freedom to do that if he wants to do that. And if any of the players want to do that. And he is, of course, as captain, more than welcome. When it comes from them, it is much more powerful, Arteta says. And of course, there is hope that Martin Odegaard might indeed be involved back in the squad today after missing the last 2 games. But it was his last words, which actually I thought rung true, and certainly laid down the gauntlet to any Arsenal deserters out there. He was asked about the noise around the club and the pressure and how you stop that becoming overwhelming for the players. He said, you asked the question, do you want to be part of the noise or not? If not, go and do something else. Be part of a different club. Or do you want to be Arsenal? And everybody has been demanding for 10 years, 15 years that we need to go back there, fight for that title. And now we are there. And now what? You don't want noise? Noise is part of it. And the bullets are part of that. And we try to deal with them in the right way to achieve what we are looking for. We have to do what we have to do. I don't think it is going to change for anybody. At the end, you have to win the next match. And if you do that, you're going to be in a much stronger position. And that is the only thing that we can control. Very poignant message, very strong message, of course, to any player, coach, fan that is not happy with the noise, that cannot cope with the noise. Go do something else. Go play for a different club. But if you want to fight for a title, then you've got to deal with that noise. You've got to be part of that noise. And I thought it was a very good and strong message from Arteta in that press conference. Overall, I thought it wasn't the best conference at the start, but certainly those embargoed comments that we heard towards the end of the press that have come out this morning changed and ended on a very strong note. We're going to go to part 2 now, which is going to be a preview ahead of today's game right after this. Right, this is part 2 of today's North London Derby special, when, of course, we are looking at a very, very important game where he needs to get the lineup spot on, depending on the availability, of course, of certain players. And I've made a couple of changes from that team that drew against Wolves. I've moved Saka back out to the right-hand side. Hopefully, Odegaard will be back for this game. Gyökeres starting up top. Trossard on the left, Declan Rice and Zubimendi back into the midfield. Nketiah at left back, Ben White at right back, Gabriel and Saliba through the middle as the centre-halves, and David Raya, of course, in the middle. I think Jurriën Timber just needs to be taken out of the firing line a little bit, and I think Ben White is worthy of coming in as well. I really do think that that is the one that we need in that right back slot for this game. So, yeah, I'd go with Ben White. Looking forward, of course, to this game and hopefully Arsenal really taking it to Spurs. Yes, they've had 12 days to recover. Yes, they've had plenty of time to prepare, but that's a lot of time without any football. Arsenal playing 3 games in those 12 days. They'll be sharper in terms of match sharpness psychologically, but physically, are they going to have the same benefits of Spurs? Probably not. And Arteta needs to make sure he uses his squad in the right way, particularly in that second half, to maintain the energy for a Spurs side that are going to be fully rested and ready for this game, playing under new coach, of course, Igor Tudor. Let's get your predictions, shall we, in the chat box. And I'm looking forward, of course, to seeing hopefully some positive scorelines, because I've seen very mixed views ahead of this game as well. Let's go to Charlie says, why would you start Odegaard in this game? It has to be Eze, not based on the performances I've seen for me. Odegaard, if he is fit, he has to come back into this team. We've lacked control. We've lacked his presence. We've lacked that ability to transition. We need his ability in this team. So no doubt in my mind, I'll be starting him. Eze just has not done it for me. Outside of, ironically, that Spurs game earlier on in the season. Matt says 2-0 Saka and Gabriel. Jonas says 6-0. Knowledge says 2-1. Matthew says 1-1. John says 2-0 Jesus and Rice. Rancy says 3-1 Arsenal, Saka, Odegaard and Gyökeres. Jeff says 2-1 Arsenal, a reliable victory. Tom says 3-1 Arsenal. Temi says 2-0. Vishal says 2-1. Cosmo says 1-0. Matthew's going for a 3-0 victory here. Barry says 2-0. Claire reckons it's going to be a draw. Nifty says Eze hat-trick off the bench in a 3-0 win. Paul says 2-0. Other Paul also says 2-0 as well. It's the Paul scoreline this morning. 3-1 from Evan and 3-2 from Ken. Really looking forward to seeing, hopefully, a really big performance from this Arsenal team. I'm hoping that you're looking forward, of course, if you're not already and haven't already got your hands on it, to get in the safest and secure VPN network that you can by going to nordvpn.com/Gooner and getting yourself that significant discount off a 1 or a 2 year deal with 4 months extra thrown in free on top of that too. There's a 30-day money-back guarantee on top of that also. And if you stay with the plan for longer than those 30 days, you can get yourself an extra little surprise. Make sure you check out the details before signing up, and all the terms and conditions are on the NordVPN website. Change your digital location in any of the territories supported by Nord on your mobile, your tablet, or your laptop. So let's make sure that we go into a safe and secure space with Nord. But let's make sure that Arsenal get the result that we need, and we're going to take your comments and questions in part 3 right after this. Right, this is part 3 of today's show. We're going to jump into the chat box and get some of your pre-North London derby feelings and thoughts in our chat box. If you've got any questions, now is the time to do that. Cosmo says, Tom, do you agree with Clive that we should have an away starting 11 that is more physical in the duels and defence, and at home be more technically creative in low blocks? There are changes to how opposition teams play home and away. So I think that, you're not going to have an 11. I don't think Clive means 11 different players. I think he's talking about like individuals and how individuals are set up and how we approach the game as well, with some changes personnel-wise to those games. But I don't think it can be as simple as home 11 or away 11. I think you have to do it based upon the opponent as well and who you're playing against, and that matters a lot. So I don't think you can just go home and away and these players are going to be in this game because it's away from home, and these players are going to be in this game because you're at home. I think it depends more upon the opponent than the actual stadium that you're in. Yeah, Clive says, I'm not bailing. Let's go. Dyer says, any update on the Rodri FA ban? He was charged, but I don't know if there's been any outcome of that as of yet. So, yeah, not at the moment. Temi says, does Arteta really have the right to criticise fans? I don't think he has he? When did he criticise fans? Well, it's not people having thin skin again, is it? I don't think Arteta criticised fans once. Matt says, why is Eze the only player who has been punished for poor performances or lapses and that have led to goals? I don't think necessarily he has been punished. He's just not necessarily trusted. I don't think it's a case of punishing him. But when he's been given the opportunities to come back outside of that Wigan game, he hasn't done enough in those opportunities that we've seen from him to be given further chances as of yet. Evan says, do you not think with Leo's form, we could see Eze coming on earlier on that left-hand side? Arteta just doesn't seem to want to use Eze on the left-hand side. It's something I want to see more of, but yeah, he doesn't seem to be using him too much on the left-hand side at all. Rancid says, until yesterday, I was still mad about Wolves. This result hit hard. Anyway, the time for sulking is over. I'm buzzing for tonight. Taylor says, those fans, truth hurts. The most vitriolic fans are not helping. Martin says, when you're charged by the FA from memory, you usually get about 14 days to respond. Yeah, so we are still not in that out of that period as of yet. Matthew says, Tom, do you foresee some of our players being leggy after Wednesday? Potentially, but that's going to be on Arteta then to manage the squad in the right way. Vishal says, has Havertz got enough to start? I feel that we should be giving him a shot to play the first 45. No, I don't think so. I'd be very surprised if Havertz is available to start this game. Anime says, it's the history of Tottenham. Come on, Arsenal. Absolutely. Sue says, have you seen the meme comparing the title race to the rooftop parkour chase from Johnny English's Reborn? It's sad but funny because it is so accurate. I know exactly the scene that you're talking about. I haven't seen it, but I know exactly what you're saying. It's just the simple walk through. Yeah, and Arsenal are like, yeah, so it's very good. Jeffrey says, expecting a win, but not a draw. But a draw is not a disaster. Plus 1 goal difference now just with City. I think a draw is a bad result still. I just can't help but think Arsenal need to get back to winning ways in this league. Barry says, if we go 1-0 up, we've got to carry on and try to get 2 and then 3, etc. Instead of sitting back. That's been our problem this year. Matthew says, Tom, what are strengths of Spurs and their main weaknesses? The reality of Spurs is that you can count them out and then somehow they just get something. You look at that Man City game. So any scoreline that is in Arsenal's favour, you cannot be taking that for granted. You cannot keep comfortable. They're going to keep going. We've known that for many seasons playing, that they just keep on going. So that is an element that we need to be aware of. Naturally, they've lost a lot of their technical players, like Odegaard, for example. Adoji on that left-hand side is not going to be there. Xavi Simons should be available. I think the front three could look something like Solanke, Tell, and Kolo Muani from the looks of the players that are going to be available, which is obviously 3 really natural centre forwards playing with 2 in wide areas. So they're going to have a lot of, I think, counter speed and ability. So we need to be really careful of that counter attack. But in the midfield, I think there's a midfield that we can exploit there. We should be winning the physical battle in this game comfortably. We really should be winning the physical battle of this game and should not be shirking any challenges. Taylor in Talk says, we have to be positive. Tottenham's record against us is not great. Last 10 is 8 wins, 1 draw, and 1 defeat. Neon says, feeling really nervous. If we lose, I might have to try and disinvest for mental health reasons, and I wouldn't blame you, mate. The internet won't be a nice place if we do. Anish says, I'm concerned about Odegaard's strength and physicality. Would he be a better option in this latter half of the game? In his last 2 performances, which has been irritating for me because he's obviously got these injuries, he comes off the bench against Leeds, was fantastic. He comes on at halftime against Brentford, was fantastic until they scored that goal and obviously had that injury. He is at the moment showing in his last 2 performances what we have missed, and we really missed him in midweek. So if he's available, for me, he starts. Cosmo says, big up Clive, keeping my heart rate at a healthy-ish rate and my mind out of the gutter of depression as well. Anime says, this is the best chance ever to win the league. Man City aren't strong like they used to be. Barry says, if a professional athlete can't recover after 72 hours of rest, there must be something seriously wrong. Barry, I'm assuming you're not a physiotherapist, because if you were, you'd probably know that that's not the case. Mason says, what do you think Ez's long-term role will be at the club? Do you think that he could ever become a solidified starter? It's difficult to see that at the moment, isn't see him being a regular starter in the team without players being missing. But I think that it's if we win the league and we open up more as a team and we gain a bit more freedom next season and the seasons to come, then maybe he can find a role. But at the moment, very difficult to see right now based upon what has happened this season so far. Mikey says, play Norgard with Zubi and Rice. I mean, that's not a lot of creativity, Mikey, in midfield. Jimmy says, have you seen how many times Man City's players have kicked the ball away when they're fouled with no consequences? Yeah, I have, but it's not going to change. Max says, I wouldn't say he was fantastic. He was fine. Well, I'd rewatch him, Maxim, if I was you. Charlie says, Mikel should play Eza on the left, similar to what Wenger used to do with Hleb and Nasri. With that, he operates much more like a winger and a midfielder tasked with tracking back just to support the midfield. I mean, unfortunately, Eza just doesn't seem to have that element of his kind of psyche to be that tenacious tracking back up and down the left wing. I want to use him on the left with more freedom. I think you need to put measures in place to create an environment that suits Eza best. I think you have to do that as much as possible. JD says they can show and remind some how good they are today, hoping for a big performance in the boys must win. Izzy says, I saw the Rice interview and I agree with him. We really can win the rest of our games starting today, but it will take real bottle. Michael says, who is the toughest run of games now, City or Arsenal? I think it's kind of split. If you look at the next 5, we do. If you look at City's last 5, they do. So it's kind of split into 2 halves. John, I'll be there working today. Yep. So looking forward to my first time at this new ground. Hopefully we can continue this very good record I've got when watching Arsenal against Spurs in the stadium. Cosmo says, more worried about Raya's form or overplaying Rice and Zubi at the moment. Well, we've got a week off next week. So that's a very welcome break that we've got after this game. So I'm not too concerned about, kind of fatigue and that element when you've got a good, strong week before the Chelsea fixture. Jeffrey says, we need to bully them on set pieces, need some goals from Gabriel and Saliba as well. Vacan says, make sure you take 2 showers on your way back. Yeah, I mean, don't worry. I'll be the deepest of scrubs after getting out of there. Michael says, what do you absolutely not want to see from the boys today? Anything other than a win. Anything other than a win is what I absolutely do not in terms of that. So that's what I don't want to see. Anything other than a win. Thank you very much. Just get the victory. I don't really care how. Telemann talks says we can't talk about easy when we lose to the likes of Wolves. Well, we didn't lose, we drew. But we need to keep the positives up. Hopefully today is the start of our great run and we win the next block of games in all competitions. Mo says, I think Arsenal focus too much on City sometimes and they tend to forget about what they should be doing themselves. It has happened in previous seasons. Could it happen again? You've got to have that mental fortitude to go through. You absolutely have to have that mental stability to be able to go through and ignore the noise that is outside. And that's what Arteta was talking about. It's bizarre. Some people thought he was criticising fans. I don't really get how people misinterpreted it like that. Taylor in Talk says, someone offered me free tickets to see Pink once, but when I found out it was at the Toilet Bowl, I turned them down. Well, yeah, the only reason that I'd go there is if Arsenal are playing, and that's exactly why I'm going to be there today. Luke says, Tom, has the Man City celebrations put you off? Put me off what? I couldn't care less what they're doing. We need to focus on ourselves, get the results that we need to get. And yeah, 100%. We just need to focus on what we need to do. Tebby says, Tamito says the Nando's scored highest goal from set pieces this season already. I don't know what the numbers are for Spurs in terms of set pieces or in terms of how many they've conceded, but if it's an area of weakness, then we need to absolutely be looking to exploit that. Gooner 76 says, again, this is their biggest game of the season. Let's ruin their special day. Come on, Arsenal. Lowe says, Dan Burn should have had a second yellow for pulling Haaland. Well, I guess if you're not going to get the first yellow card for Bernardo Silva, it's kind of just releasing all holds barred, isn't it? So if you're not going to give a second yellow for Bernardo Silva, it's leveling the playing field. He should have sent off Bernardo Silva first, and then probably that incident with Dan Burn never happens with Haaland anyway. Chano says, if we get 6 points from the next 2 fixtures, we are still in a great position to win the league. City have a tougher run in the last 10 games. Ben says, how come you think no Timber? I don't think no Timber is what I would personally do, and I just don't think Timber's been in particularly good form of late either. Taylor in Talk says, Tom, you have to hand you your flowers. You've been reporting for the Mirror lately, and it's been top class. We're so proud of you. Thanks, mate. It's very kind. There should be another piece today in there from some of the quotes that I've been talking about today as well, inside. So pick up your copy of the Mirror this morning. Support the newspaper business. Really do appreciate all the support and kind words, as always. Cosmo says, what's more annoying? People who keep saying that we lost against Wolves or people spelling Victor's name wrong? Oh, spelling, always. 100%. Because the draw felt like a defeat, so I can empathise with that. I can't empathise with lazy spelling. I just can't. I just can't empathise with it at all. Claire says, it's pointless crying about City. We just need to do our own job. Lucas says, Tom, would you start Norgard and Ben White for Timber and Zubi? I'd start Ben White, but I wouldn't start Norgard. No, but I would be certainly bringing him on for a lot of the second half if the game state opens up in that way. Michael says, I agree, Tom. We need to win anyhow. Hopefully Owen goals can come through for us. The Gyökeres brace and Saka screamer, Gabby power header will heal me. Matthew says, Tom, Calafiori is great until his injury. what's happened to him now, it's rhythm. You know, when you lose rhythm, when you lose consistency, you need to make sure that you respond strongly. But it's really difficult to do that when you have these consistent injuries. It interrupts your flow, it interrupts your momentum. So it really is as simple as that. Matt says, Tom, do you think that we'll be top of the Premier League at the end? I hope so. And at the moment, ask me in the morning. I hope so. I really do. Jason, what's your favourite North London derby memory? What's my favourite North London derby memory? I feel like the 5-2. Just what the one of the, like, in terms I would have been like 15, 16 or whatever it was. So yeah, I think the 5-2. We were going 2-0 down and winning 5-2. Theo Walcott hat-trick, Rosicky goal, Sanya goal. Was it a hat-trick from Walcott? He might have got 2, actually. Van Persie got one, didn't he? So yeah, it's got to be the 5-2, I think. Arthur says Chelsea should have had their defenders off for bringing down a striker as well. Yeah, well, we can't rely on the right decisions being made, will we? AJ says, Tom, it will be interesting to see the midfield set up if Ødegaard and Kai are fit. I really don't think Kai is going to be fit to start a game, but I might be proven wrong. I just worry that we rush him back. Ødegaard, on the other hand, should be okay. Fingers crossed. Aditya says, did not follow the show yet, but I had a listen to the Football Leadership podcast with JLA. I believe that being combative might antagonize rather than galvanize. Well, we just need to be strong. You know, we just need to win our duels. We need to stay composed. We need to ride the energy and not rile the crowd. We riled the Wolves crowd and it worked against us. We need to do what we can to ride the momentum and use it in our favour. Chris says, Haaland gave a masterclass in defending and attacking play. He showed a hunger that I don't see from others. It was a brilliant performance from Haaland, no doubt about that. Jay says, reports coming out that Igor Tudor took the Spurs team out for a meal. We could be in trouble. Oh, was it for lasagna? I wonder if it was for a nice lasagna. Anish says, do the rumours of Arsenal being open to selling and replacing Calafiori have any credibility? I've heard nothing to suggest that that's true. So, no, not for now. Maximus says, when we won the Premier League there, Spurs, and celebrated with the others. Again, I was like 10, so I just don't connect in the same way when that happened. It's an amazing memory, of course, but it's just not one I connect with because I just wasn't old enough to appreciate it. That Rosicky screamer at the lane also. I mean, the Rosicky one where we went 1-0 up in like the first minute and then just held out for a 1-0 win. I love the Cesc Fabregas kind of, straight from kickoff bang. That's a brilliant moment at the Emirates as well. Matt says, bring back the Invincibles lineup for the game. The current team are cardboard cutouts. Well, I mean, it's pretty harsh considering they're top of the table right now, pal. Owen says, favourite for me is when Eric Dyer tells Rambo to sit down on the bench just before he comes on, sets up 2 goals and gives us the win in 2018. Anthony says, for me, it was when we won the title at Spurs, watching the interview of Thierry when they were ordered by police not to over-celebrate as well. 100%. Yeah, it's a great memory. I just say I can't connect to it in the same way. Just because I was only 10 years old when obviously it happened. John says, control the midfield, rattle the defence, and then we'll be able to score. Matt says, I think these next 2 games are the making potentially of our season. If we rebound, we lift the trophy. Come on, boys. Beat Spurs and Chelsea, and you've put yourself in a really good position with the games that remain. But I think that Wolves game showed that we cannot take anything for granted in this season. Cannot take a single fixture for granted whatsoever. So, yeah, got to take it one game at a time and hope to get the victory in every single one of them. But I'll be with you tomorrow, of course. I'll be here tomorrow giving my reactions to that victory. I say victory now because I'm sincerely manifesting it into existence, and I'm hoping that's what it is. Martin says Liam Brady scored an amazing goal there back in the day as well. Any stories about Liam Brady are always appreciated. Brilliant player. Always one I tell people to go back and educate yourselves about because he was just what he did on those pitches was glorious. Gooner 76 says, me and the missus went to Totteringham's ground for a rugby game. We were dissing Spurs football and a woman in front of us started laughing, pointed to her bloke and said, he supports them. He said, it's awful. It must be terrible being a Spurs fan. It really, really must. Matt says, bring us all 3 points, Tom. Please and thank you. I'll do my best, mate. I'll do my best. LMS says, have to play these next 10 games like finals to show and prove our worth as well. Dell says, Brady is the reason that I follow Arsenal. What a brilliant reason to follow Arsenal. 100%. Barry says, Brady is my all-time favourite player. Showing your age here, people, in the chat. Showing your age a bit. Love it. I love the fact that we've got this eclectic, massive, broad fan base of different age groups. It shows you're happy to listen to a bloke half your age waffle on about football. So I appreciate you being here. Izzy says, let's hopefully tomorrow's show is a celebration and not a morning therapy episode. Lofat says, if City win all their remaining games, they will win the league. Yes, but I don't think that they will. Anthony says, have we already had St Tottenham's Day? If not, is this the game that it could happen? I don't think it can happen today. I might be wrong. I mean, what are the gaps between us and them? We've played 27, they've played 26 so far. So they've got 12 games left. So they can get a maximum of 36 points, which would put them on 65. So yeah, we'd only go up to 61. So as soon as we get to 66 points, to be fair, I don't think it necessarily works, because if they lost that game, they could only get 63 points. So if we win our next two, I think, games, and I think that's how it works. Pete says, Tom, does the wife cut out all your comments in the Daily Mirror and put them in a scrapbook from Galveston, Texas? No, my wife doesn't, but I think some members of my family might do that. I'll keep a lot of the papers. You can see a lot of them just sitting here. I keep a lot of the papers that I've had some spreads in. So yeah, it's nice. It's obviously like, internet, you can have articles online forever, but it's nice to kind of like a physical copy of some of the best pieces. So yeah, absolutely. Leia says, when did you support Arsenal? Honestly, I can't even remember as far, but I can always remember just supporting Arsenal. It's hard for me to even remember a time when I didn't, to be honest. So yeah, it's difficult. It's hard to think of a time I didn't, to be honest. So Martin says, win today and next week, and it's St Tottenham's Day. I thought that's how it worked. Jay says, any news on the live show? Not yet. The thing is, I'm really kind of like, basically, I'd love to do the live show towards the end of the season and hopefully be celebrating something. But the Champions League final is obviously the week after the league ends, and I would have wanted to do it in the week before the Champions League final. But if Arsenal get there, there's like a week of press ahead of the final, and I'm not, obviously that's presumptuous, but I can't be in a position where I've booked in, the show. Maybe we do it the week after the Champions League final, but if Arsenal don't get to the Champions League final, that means doing a live show like more than a week after the league is finished. So, but maybe that's the week that we do it. So it might be the week after the Champions League final. That's looking like, and I think that's the first week of June, I think. So that's looking like a potential week, that first week of June. But it's not 100% sure, and it's not yet sorted or finalised yet. But as soon as I know about the live show, and I'm really hoping to do one, of course, I'll be letting you know. JB Cos says, if Arteta doesn't win from a winning position again, do we replace him? He seems to be getting affected by the second place as manager and his history as an Arsenal player. It doesn't matter if Arteta goes. The second place tag will stick with us. The chant will still exist, so it doesn't matter. But we'll talk about kind of what happens next at the end of the season. I don't talk about it now. There's no point talking about a hypothetical situation. We'll talk about it if and when the situations occur. Michael says, bless you, Tom. Love your work on here. Haven't yet seen your stuff in the paper yet, but I'm sure it's fantastic. Pick up the Mirror, mate. On a Saturday or Sunday morning, depending on when our game is, and hopefully you'll be able to read some of it. John says, who actually likes North London derbies? I don't. I like it if we win, but the actual game and before it in the match, I'm like a coiled spring. Yeah, I'm the same. I hate the build-up. I hate the game because the negative outcome just outweighs the potential positive outcome for me. So, yeah, it's very, very difficult. Very difficult. Max says Rodri had until the 18th to come up with an explanation, and thus for the referee outburst. How long does it usually take for the FA to come up with a ruling on such issues? Can range. It depends upon the situation, on the case. It's a case-by-case basis. So it might be that they do it this week and after this week of fixtures, and we find out in midweek as well. Let's go to Curtis says, Kirill, definitely I'm here, lol. Definitely sure to check out. What? I don't know what the conversations go. This is always the danger of clicking on comments, as I end up clicking on someone in mid-conversation with someone else. Michael says, picking up the mirror might be a bit tricky because I'm in Nigeria, but I'm working on it. I think we do have global shipping. You can order them online, but you can just read them online. You don't need to order it. Matt says, Odegaard, Gyökeres are the weakest links. I think a psychological coach as part of the coaching team should be brought in to help the players with their nerves and anxiety. They have psychological support. But I don't think Odegaard is the weakest point of the team, not by a long stretch. Cosmos says it is easier for the nerves to be a fan at home covering Arsenal as a journalist or as covering Arsenal as a journalist in the press box. It's easier to be working the game in some ways because I can distract myself and I have to stay focused on kind of the job that I've got to do. So if I'm at home, I'm an emotional wreck, So if I'm in the stands, I'm very emotive, but working, you kind of flick a switch and shut that kind of side off and get on with your task. So yeah, it's absolutely, there are emotional moments, and in Wolves, it was not just freezing cold, which made it really hard to kind of do what we needed to do. But obviously, the emotion at full time was pretty visceral. So yeah, and also when you've got to put a question to the manager, you could get all emotive and ask something stupid. And trust me, I've asked stupid questions in the past, but you've got to kind of, again, stay professional, ask what needs to be asked, and get your jobs done. Because, yeah, so I guess working makes it easier for these games in some ways. Arx says, Odegaard is actually one of the stronger links in the team. Yeah, I agree with you. Tailoring says, Gooners, Tottenham have so many players out injured. Be positive that we can win this. And Michael says, Gyökeres is not a weak link. He does what he needs to do, presses like a madman and keeps the centre-backs honest. We just haven't been playing to his strengths. I'd love to agree with you, but unfortunately, I as soon as Kai is back, I really do want to see him starting at centre-forward. Anthony says, I'm getting so tired how we more often than not have to be the last game that plays each weekend, so spending Sundays nervous. Yeah, it's annoying, isn't it? Very, very irritating. Curtis says, I was thinking the exact same thing when I heard that we hired multiple coaches as well. Yeah, I mean, looking at the psychological element in the team, it's something that it is supported always. So it says, Tom, do you remember when we won 3-1 away with both Fabregas and Adebayor's screamers? Yeah, I mean, the chest and volley from Adebayor was quite something. Paul says, did the conditions at Wolves make a big difference? Same for both teams, Paul. I mean, obviously, it can denigrate the level of technical ability that can be on show in a game, but I'm never going to blame conditions for a performance. I'm just not. John says, Gyökeres worries me. I can't see him getting anything from Van de Ven today. I prefer to see Jesus as technically better and maybe can twist Van de Ven and put him on his arse. I mean, neither of them were any good against Wolves. So it's probably our weakest position, which, considering we spent so much money in that area, it's not ideal. Paul says, I'm strangely calm. I reason that the players are the same players who got us to the top, and they know what they need to do, and they will be okay for today. Absolutely. Thomas says, I've decided to believe again. Oh, good. That's very good. Anish says, why is it that we concede after Gyökeres is taken off? Is it a coincidence or inevitable? I think it's more coincidence. I know that people say that, he stretches teams and stuff like that, but there's 11 players on that pitch. It's not just about Gyökeres being there. And if the only reason to have Gyökeres on the pitch is to keep centre-backs occupied, it's just not enough of a reason to have spent 60 million quid on somebody. Arthur says, are our players overcoached? I don't think they have enough time to be overcoached, Arthur, to be honest. So I'd say no. Arthur says, Gabriel Jesus shouldn't be here next season. I tend to agree. I wouldn't renew his contract, personally. I wouldn't renew his contract. Vacan says, hoping Kai plays today. Could we give him the second half at least? Maybe we can give him some minutes. I'd be very surprised if he scores. Insight says, support your team. Get them up, lads. Absolutely. 100%. Get behind the team. Support them today and hopefully get the result that we need. Martin says, this pre-match tension is exactly the reason I'd like to see them relegated. So there's no longer any North London derbies. That would be great. Rancy says, we should hire Sean Dyche as an assistant coach, not for tactical reasons, more just as a threat. He gives the players a good old headlock if they don't perform to the standards required. Anish says, who between Trossard and Martinelli are you more tempted to sell in the summer? Martinelli, of the two. John says, I don't think Havertz will even be on the bench today. Chris says, we also conceded after Noni was taken off against Brentford and Wolves as well. Again, correlation is not the same as causation. Like, it just doesn't mean that necessarily one equals the other. I think it's more towards mentality at the end of games that we've tended to concede, not because we brought a certain player off. I don't think it's necessarily you point to the tactical element. I think it's more of a mental thing than a tactical thing. Barry says, start on the front foot, get the first goal and make the crowd restless, and then turn the screw and get the second. If we take the game to them, I can see us winning it well. Cosmo says, do you think choosing players that have had previous good games against Spurs is important, or is it more important on current form is more important? Even though form, the cliche, goes out the window, I think current form is more important than necessarily derby familiarity. Shivaz says, do you have any good tricks for getting to sleep? I've got a Canada versus US Gold medal hockey game in 4.5 hours, and the derby after that, I'm too stressed to sleep. No, it's something I struggle with as well. I'm not the best person to ask. I often struggle with sleeping. White noise is a recommendation, but yeah, I don't have any. My missus uses like lavender spray for her pillow, and sometimes I can find that works, but yeah, no, I don't, I'm afraid. I struggle with sleep. So always in my own head too much. Neil says, it surely must take a lot of mental strength to be a player. I certainly can't imagine myself coping very well. I would have folded a long time ago, methinks. LMS says that whole left side needs sorting. Martinelli and Trossard, you could argue, should both be. I mean, I wouldn't be selling Trossard after this season. He's probably been our most reliable forward player. So I wouldn't be letting Trossard go. Matt says, Tom, can you please guarantee a win today so I don't have to be nervous? No, I can't. I can manifest it and say, yes, we're going to win, but I never want to lie to you. Cosmo says, crazy in the USA hockey and the double over Canada. The headless up north would be massive. The head loss up north would be massive as well. I haven't been watching too much of the Olympics. I've been seeing like little bits here and there, but it's I never really get up for the Olympics, winter or summer. I just never kind of managed to get myself up for it. But I know it's a big thing for a lot of other people. But it's just not my bag, really. Anyway, I've been going for 40 minutes. It's the most I'm going to give you today. I just need to now, I think, detach mentally for a little bit. Find my way to a sofa, lay down in a dark room for an hour or so and prepare myself mentally for this afternoon. Hopefully, we can sort ourselves out a significant victory. And it would be huge for Arsenal. What a boost it would be to win it. And the alternative is just too concerning to even think about. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening. As always, really appreciate your time. I hope you have an absolutely fantastic Sunday. I hope you had a good start and end to your week this week. And I'll be back with you tomorrow morning to break down this result, which hopefully will be going the Gunners' way. Stay safe, stay well, stay happy and respectful. And as always, up the Arsenal.